Futuristic.com.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been a pattern for us a lot. There's a team will string together a couple threes on us and push a lead out from, let's say, 6 or 7 to 15 or more, and we don't respond. Whether it's offensively we can't get a bucket or turn it over, or we can't get a stop next time down. Yeah, so yeah, for sure that's where the game was lost for us today.
Reckless speculation.
Welcome to Reckless Speculation Thursday here on Mackey and Judd. Executive producer Declan hitting the buttons off the top, and our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News sports team and the Scoop podcast, which you can find on Apple, Spotify, and ScoreNorth.com. Inside information about your favorite local sports teams. And boys, Chris Finch was stumped yesterday, but I think now that we've seen the breaking news this morning, it's acceptable for the Wolves to be just a little bit down in the dumps when you see that Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez have issued a joint statement announcing the official breaking up of their engagement. J-Lo clearly not happy with A-Rod buying one of the worst franchises in American sports, and this was the final straw.
Did I see this right? Did these two jokers go on the Today Show to officially talk about this? Or there was a Today... I saw a Twitter headline today that there was a Today Show involvement. I mean, have two people ever been bigger complete frauds in life? Like they're splitting up and they're going on the Today Show to announce it? Okay. All you need to know, okay?
Can't talk to Jenny. So
when A-Rod moves the Wolves, no question, the bidding, Sports Center, the Today Show, Good Morning America. No question, one will bid and get the announcement that they're going to Cancun or wherever they're going.
I think you're onto something. I think the right way to do this would have been get Jim Gray in the mix, and A-Rod and the rumors have been going on for about a month, and A-Rod and J-Lo sit down and Alex, J-Lo, what's your decision? And then they have to announce at the same time. I don't know, something like that. We also have drama that apparently ESPN is mad that A-Rod floated the scoop of the purchase of the Timberwolves to The Athletic and not Woj at ESPN. A-Rod employed by ESPN. So A-Rod, just all kinds of drama already in the first 48 hours. Doogie, what's going on with you? What are you hearing the last 48 hours talking to people inside the Wolves organization?
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, Judd, you see that guy to your, I guess it would be your left, my right? That is Doug Minkiewicz, correct?
Yeah. Dougie Baseball's the bobblehead of the day. That's right. Dougie Minkiewicz.
Tell Dougie to text me back. That is one of A-Rod's best friends. I've been trying to
high
gain
school,
some insight.
right?
Yes, on A-Rod from Dougie. Dougie and I have a relationship, yet the man won't text me back. So if you're in touch with Minkiewicz, tell him to text me back.
I'll get right on it.
Real quick, congratulations to Doogie being the first one all week to correctly identify generic white guy bobblehead.
He's blowing a bubble, and he's got the 16, which I think you can see, right?
I can.
I can see the 16. So,
he put the pieces of the puzzle together.
That's how I knew who it was. It was a statement released to the Tate Show. It wasn't them sitting down with the Robin Roberts of the NBC morning show. That being said, I get where you're coming from. I can't speak about J-Lo, but he's also known as a fraud, right? It's A-Rod, a fraud. As far as the way things leaked on Saturday, Johnny K had it. I think he probably got it from the Wolves, actually, because the Wolves had a statement ready to go. I got a text message. I was on the set for TV. I was anchoring with Chris Long doing 45 TV high school basketball coverage. I was on the set doing my Channel 5 duties. I got a text from one of the Wolves spokespeople, and it was a prepared statement. So I think that's where he got his info from. So credit to him on that for beating everybody by about 4 seconds. Darren Ravel had it right then and there as well. So maybe A-Rod leaked it to Ravel. But yeah, the Athletic had some other information with Shams. Yeah, Woj was a little behind on that one. So yeah, that's probably some pretty good drama. What I've heard is, hey, A-Rod was here on Monday. I talked to Cheryl Ree for a while yesterday, the Lynx coach and general manager. She spent some good time with A-Rod and Marc Lore on Monday. They were actually in their draft room, she said. The WNBA draft is tonight. So they were having some draft meetings. A-Rod and Lore, and whoever was guiding the tour ended up knocking on the door, and they stopped and they chatted, and Lori took some questions. And Cheryl's point was, hey, gentlemen, because they admitted, hey, we don't know a whole lot about the WNBA. I mean, make no mistake. They're doing this because they want to own an NBA team, not a WNBA team. The Lynx happen to be part of this transaction. Cheryl's point to them was, hey, the reason we are the model franchise, and I don't think anybody would debate that of the 12 WNBA franchises, the Minnesota Lynx are at the top. Mm-hmm. They are number one. And Cheryl's point is, and I don't think she's lying on this, that a big reason why we're the model franchise is Glenn. That Glenn provides all these great amenities. Glenn doesn't say no to any of our requests. Heck, Cheryl said she was down in San Antonio scouting the NCAA tournament. She had Katie Smith, who's on the staff, go down there and scout. She had her assistant general manager go down and scout. I don't know this for sure, but I wonder if every WNBA team, if they wanted to send 3 people to go scout, if the owner would say, yeah, go ahead. I'll pay for those flights. I'll pay for those hotel rooms. Maybe 1. But Glenn he never says no to anything Cheryl requests. So Cheryl said, hey, outside of that, it was good. Like, she got a good first impression with A-Rod, with Lori. I asked her about how the heck did this come together in 7 days. So reminder, when I talked to Glenn on Saturday night, he said it was about a week prior, like literally 7 days prior, when A-Rod and Lori first approached him. They ended up meeting at his house in Naples, Florida. The negotiation went fast. A $1.5 billion negotiation happened, snap of the fingers. That to me is about the most amazing part of this equation. Cheryl said, hey, I can't exactly speak to a transaction of that magnitude money-wise, but I can tell you I've made some trades over the years where it was done in 30 seconds. That I've had these trade talks with other teams, and we didn't get anywhere. We went back and forth for days upon days, weeks upon weeks. We kept getting stuck in the middle. I've made trades where it was done literally after 1 or 2 minutes. We knew what each other wanted. We had a good feel for each other. Boom, it was done. So she made that comp to Glenn Taylor, getting just a good vibe, a good feel from Lori and A-Rod. But I get the skepticism, I really do. But I still think the path to Seattle getting a team, because Seattle is getting a team. Make no mistake about that. It might be 5 years from now, not 3 years from now. But Seattle is getting a team. I still think the path to Seattle getting a team is not A-Rod moving the Wolves to Seattle, but the NBA expanding to Seattle.
So, Dukes, what are the next steps now? So for this to get done and for Glenn to stay involved, at least at first, the thought being that he's going to stay involved for a couple of years while the transition goes through. I have my doubts about that. But what are the next steps here that we're going to see in the coming months to start the transfer process, do you think?
Well, why do you have those doubts, first off, Judd? Because Glenn likes to be involved. He wants a succession plan. He's 80 years old. There wasn't a logical succession plan within the Taylor family. So he realizes, who knows? Maybe he lives until the guy there on I guess it would be your right, my left. Maybe he lives as long as Sid Hartman. Maybe Glenn Taylor lives another 20 years. But he had to be thinking of some sort of succession plan, and it doesn't exist within his family. So, Glenn wanted to make this happen, but Glenn also wants to remain involved as long as he can. So, A-Rod and Lori might push for it, but I think Glenn's going to push, hey, I do want to remain here for another 2.5 years.
Hey, Dukes, as Pat said, when Calvin sold to Karl in 84, the original plan was a slow transition in which Calvin would stay involved, and the end process was that they quickly fired all of Calvin's people, and they gave Calvin an office, and they said, you can sit here all you want, and that was it. So I guess it's not that Glenn wouldn't be kept around. It's just that ordinarily these transitions are, we're going to come in and do our own thing completely, which is fine. You buy that team. So I'm curious now because we've had so many previous Taylor stops and starts. He's going to sell, he's not going to sell, he's going to sell. What we're going to see now that's going to make us believe, okay, this is actually in motion this time. That's what I'm asking.
Well, yeah, and it's already in motion. Per Glenn, and if anything over the years, what I've learned from Glenn is he's overly honest. Journalism 101, why is this person lying to me? Glenn will bite his tongue and maybe on occasion not answer a question I have for him. But more often than not, maybe he's learned his lesson the last couple years after some talking to from some Wolves executives. But going back many years, like, he would volunteer too much information. So I do take Glenn at face value that just about every I is dotted, every T is crossed, everything that they need to negotiate has been negotiated. Yeah, it'll take a little bit more time for the lawyers to go through the pages of paperwork for official signatures to take place. But like, this thing is happening. And I hear you. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if it's 2022, not 2023, when A-Rod and Lore say, hey, Glenn, thanks. We have all the working knowledge we need. Like, you're still going to be around. Glenn did acknowledge that he is going to maintain some sliver of ownership after A-Rod and Lore ascend to majority owners. It might be 10%, it might be 15%, but Glenn is going to still stay on board as a limited partner. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me if it's a year from now, year and a half from now, not 2.5 years from now. I wouldn't dismiss that possibility one bit, because really, do A-Rod and Lore really need 2.5 years to learn everything? No, that seems a bit too much.
No, this feels to me like it's Glenn wanting to make sure that they stay in Minnesota. It's everything you just said, and I will add
it could be for expansion reasons that Glenn wants to remain. He's on so many different advisory boards. Owners have all these different subcommittees. Glenn's on many of those. It might be Glenn wanting to remain in place to push forward expansion to Seattle and Vegas. And I keep saying those cities. It's not a stone cold lock. It's those two cities. Those are just the two most logical cities.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee Louisville, Pittsburgh, some other cities are going to fight for an NBA franchise. I just think it makes the most sense to expand to Seattle and Vegas. Then you take two teams from the Western Conference. And I can tell you, Minnesota, Glenn Taylor would push for this. You have Seattle and Vegas in the Western Conference. You push two teams right now in the West to the East. Now, I'm sure New Orleans and Memphis would also push for it, but I can promise you the Wolves would love to play in the Eastern Conference.
Doogie, I'm not going to expect you to have done all of your homework on Marc Lore here over the past couple days with everything that's been breaking, but to me, like, A-Rod is the headline, obviously, and he's the one that we've been talking about here for the last couple days. But Marc Lore is probably the more interesting figure, and maybe even the more hands-on figure, just based on his business and tech background. And for people, we promised this resume on yesterday's show, and we just got rambling and forgot, quite frankly. He has a net worth of $1 billion, and it's from three main things in his last 15 to 20 years professional life. He's 49 years old. He founded what became Diapers.com. So initially it was 1-800-DIAPERS in 2005, rebranded as Diapers.com. He was the CEO and co-founder of Diapers.com, which eventually sold to Amazon in 2011 for $545 million. Then in 2014, he founded an e-commerce company called Jet.com, which eventually raised $140 million in pre-launch funding from Bain Capital and a bunch of other investing companies. And then he eventually joined Walmart to oversee global e-commerce and made like $10 to $15 million a year as a CEO. And so if there's anyone, like, we've been, I know that you have a great relationship with Glenn, and I don't have a great relationship with Glenn, and I am very critical of Glenn. And so it's easier for me to just sort of dismiss Glenn. But I've wanted for a long time someone to come in here that's a shark, that's forward-thinking, more of a Mark Cuban type of an ownership mindset, someone who's really, really curious, and who might bring ideas to the table that you don't think of, right? Like, I want someone who's forward-thinking and more shark-like. And, maybe this blows up in their face, but, like, we're kind of getting what I've been asking for here on the Marc Lore side anyways, with his history as a CEO and as a co-founder.
It can't really get worse, can it? I mean, I suppose Glenn could have reached an agreement months ago with Jimmy Haslam. Oh. Maybe fans would say the Browns owner, who did have interest at one point. Maybe they would say, okay, like, it could get worse if it was Jimmy Haslam. Yeah. But otherwise, I'm not quite sure it could have gotten worse. Now, I suppose Glenn could have also sold to Aaron Aflalo and his money guy, and they would have been uber aggressive getting the Wolves the heck out of here, moving them to Vegas before an expansion franchise could get there. But yeah, I think, I'm not going to be overly critical of Glenn, because I still feel like he saved this franchise, right? Like, the franchise was on its way to New Orleans. I haven't forgotten that, even though that was, 27 years ago. He has his flaws. He has his warts. Some of his campaign donation choices haven't wowed me. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, so there are things I can go at Glenn at, but I do appreciate his transparency. Like, I'm positive if I worked in New York, James Dolan isn't picking up the phone. Yeah. If I worked in Chicago, Jerry Reinsdorf isn't picking up the phone. I hope Wolves fans and Lynx fans appreciate how transparent Glenn is. So yeah, I will miss Glenn from that standpoint. But I'm with you, Phil. Like Marc Lore, I saw a YouTube clip. He made a lengthy appearance, I don't know, maybe a year ago, 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was, on CNBC, talking about some of his philosophies. I think he does a podcast. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil. Does he do his own podcast? I don't know how regularly
Let's see.
He hosts it, but I had somebody tell me he either makes a regular appearance on a podcast or hosts his own podcast. But yeah, I'm with you, Phil. Like, I was told it's a 50-50 financial partnership, A-Rod and Lore. And like, I don't know, Mark's got way more money than A-Rod. But yeah, I think Mark is going to have all sorts of ideas. I mean,
actually,
right.
I'll bet you this is when you go through and I've just opened up the Spotify podcast search function, and he's made a bunch of appearances on podcasts, including about a year ago, March 10th, 2020, right when the pandemic was hitting. I don't know if you guys follow Gary Vaynerchuk at all. Gary Vaynerchuk is this massively successful entrepreneur, and he essentially spends his every waking second on social media, like empowering people to start businesses, etc. And Marc Lore made a 43-minute appearance on Gary V's podcast about a year ago. So I will be listening to that to find out more about Marc Lore sometime later today and report.
Well, you
back
do
to
that
guys.
homework for us. I want to listen too. I just don't know if I'll be able to carve out some time here in the coming days. But yeah, I've heard a lot of interesting things about Lore, including from Glenn. Like, Glenn said he was blown away by Mark. So yeah, I think everything
looked him right in the eye, Dukes. He looked him right in the eye, right over the table, a slice of apple pie, and he looked him in the eye and said, "This franchise ain't going anywhere.
Now it is
this
interesting.
Franchise ain't going anywhere. Can I wear 22?"
It is interesting to me that Lore chose A-Rod, whenever, way back when, to partner up on an endeavor like this, right? I mean, they chased the New York Mets, got outbid by Steve Cohen, now end up landing the Wolves. So,
yeah,
like, if Mark is as cool a guy, as interesting a guy, as forward-thinking a guy, as a few people have told me, I do find it a little interesting that Alex Rodriguez, of all people, is who he decided to partner up with. So I want to do a little bit more digging on that angle. But I have heard good things about Marc Lore.
Alex is, I mean, as much as people hate him and as shady and questionable as his past is, Alex is one of the shrewdest, smartest former athletes you're going to find. And I think he understands whether it's the J-Lo relationship, which, let's be honest, those two didn't just run into each other at a celebrity bar. Like, that's a very strategic relationship and partnership the last 3 years. A-Rod starts A-Rod Corp and starts doing things with Barstool Sports, and he became a regular with Pardon My Take. Like, he sort of understands who's hot, who are the cool kids in today's media landscape. How do I... ESPN baseball, Sunday Night Baseball. Like, how do I get back in the good graces of the public eye, and how do I build strategic relationships with people that can increase my net worth? I mean, that's essentially been his entire life after he manipulates got run out of baseball.
He is a master manipulator of the first class, which is what he's going to be good at, which is why he strikes me that this is what worries me.
But you know what, Judd? There are a lot of snakes as owners.
Oh,
right?
Of course there are. Of course there are. But what worries me is this.
To achieve the financial success a lot of these guys have, you need to be, for lack of a better term, an a-hole. Like, you're not a good guy and all of a sudden becoming a billionaire. It's very rare. Like, you need to ruffle feathers. You need to piss people off. So
absolutely,
that part of it doesn't bother me. I'll also add, Judd, before you hop in on what Phil just said, just even go to, I don't know if it was A-Rod's Instagram story. Yeah, at 49 years old, he's aggressive on Instagram, all social media channels. So Anthony Edwards has the legendary soundbite the other day. I'm paraphrasing, but Ant doesn't know who A-Rod is, right? He was asked, doesn't know who Alex Rodriguez is. So Alex responded by saying, "Hi, Ant, I'm Alex." Like, he gets it from that standpoint, right? Like,
of course,
instead of being taken aback that a 19-year-old doesn't know who he is, A-Rod had some fun with that. So I'm with Phil on what he just said.
Oh, he's absolutely right. That's the problem. He is as anti-Minnesota as you can get. There is no way. I mean, it is called fly over country because of people like him. He literally, do you think that he's ever gotten here, with the Yankees and said, you know what, I really enjoy this town. This is a great town. No, he said, how do I get out? Twins questions, if we can move on. I think you broke it yesterday. How concerned should we be about Byron Buxton and the hamstring, which my understanding is he's not in the lineup again for Thursday's game. He obviously didn't play both games of the double dip on Wednesday. What is the concern again? Because anytime he misses time, there's got to be concern about Byron Buxton.
Yeah, so, I get it. And I haven't seen today's lineup, but with the noon game, the lineup must be posted. So, Judd, you're saying he's not in the lineup this afternoon?
Not in lineup.
Yeah,
Again.
and that could be a cold weather thing that he's in the lineup as soon as tomorrow night in Anaheim, where it'll be presumably a lot warmer. I'm led to believe, for what it's worth, because I get the skepticism, but I'm led to believe that this is not any sort of long-term injury, that he should be back here pretty quick. But it's one thing after another. Judd, we talked about this on Tuesday, not specifically Buxton having a potential hamstring issue, but I cited Buxton, Cruz, Donaldson, Polanco, Arise. That's 5 guys, 5 regulars that you literally cringe anytime they do anything, right? Phil, I saw you tweet that you cringe when Josh Donaldson has to run. We saw him run first to third yesterday, tag up from third. You're cringing. You're like, please don't break down. Now, maybe if it's May 20th, we get through a stretch here. They have sustained a long period of playing, 5 out of 6 days, 6 out of 7 days. Maybe that cringeness that we have goes away. But right now in mid-April, it's many guys. So here we go again with Buxton, right? He had the food poisoning, missed a game or two in Detroit. Now here we go with the hamstring issue, missing 2 games yesterday, missing today's game. And it's like, what's next? So if he's in the lineup this weekend in Anaheim, it's almost like there's this inevitability that something else is going to happen. That Byron just has this history, even if some of the injuries, maybe even many of the injuries have been of the fluky nature, that you feel like, what the heck is about to happen? Something else is going to happen. But to specifically answer your question, I am told by a couple people that there is not great cause for concern.
Is there any movement at all with Vikings in free agency? I feel like everything is slowed to a crawl. Jadeveon Clowney did sign for $10 million with the Browns, but there's still, there's offensive linemen still sitting out there, and the Vikings still have some cap flexibility. So anything on that front with the Vikings, Dukes?
Well, the first round of the NFL draft is 2 weeks from today. There's really no reason, unless a guy wants to take the minimum. It's not like they're not picking up the phone when these agents are calling them, pitching their clients. It's more along those lines right now, not the Vikings picking up the phone, but agents calling the Vikings saying, hey, you have an obvious need at left tackle on the offensive line. What about my guy? Hey, you could use another cornerback. Hey, you could use another safety. Hey, can I sell my guy to you? So it's more chatter like that. But I don't think anything's going to happen unless one of these guys does take a minimum 1-year deal. I don't think anything's going to happen until after the draft. Let's see how the draft plays out. Then after the draft, if they can use an extra cornerback, an extra safety, an extra pass rusher, an extra offensive lineman, they'll then pursue a guy, come early May.
Duke's best guess right now, where do you think, because you've discussed this before, where do you think round-wise this team probably takes a quarterback?
They have 7 picks between, is it 77, 78? They pick in the late 70s, 75, 76, 77, somewhere in that ballpark to pick 157. So they have 7 picks between 78 or 77 and 157 or 158, right in that ballpark. So I think the safe bet, Judd, is somewhere among those 7 picks, even though Trader Rick, I'd put the over-under. I always put the over-under at 2 or 2.5 trades that Rick will make draft weekend. And with all that capital between 78 and 157, Rick is going to try to move up. But I think the safe bet is somewhere in those middle rounds. I saw The Athletic had a 7-round mock draft that they posted this morning. They had the Vikings taking Kyle Trask, the Florida quarterback, in the 4th round. He's one of many guys the Vikings have done a lot of homework on.
Reckless speculation.
I will tease on Purple Daily today. We have a former legendary front office member has come down with his mock draft 2.0, and that'll be part of our midweek mock.
Come down's a
Purple
good
Daily
term,
today.
too, because it's like an illness of a mock draft.
Is it Fran Foley?
It is not.
Has anybody, can you find Fran Foley? You know what? I will give you $1 million if you can find Fran Foley. David Kahn and Fran Foley, where are you two?
Well, David was teaching a class. I mean, small world, very small world. So the agent for Randy Dobnak, Nick Anderson, he has a handful of other clients, small world. He had a class that David Kahn taught at New York University, NYU. He said
Wow.
it was a hoot. Like it was unbelievable to say the least. I don't know if David is still doing that. He was involved with some basketball team in France at one point. But on Fran Foley, I have no bleeping idea, Judd. So I'll take you up on your $1 million. I'll work on tracking him down.
Okay.
We have a pretty cool system there in the Hubbard
installments.
building where I have pretty good access to be able to track people down if I need to, if I can't figure it out via just a simple Google search, an internet search. So I will take you up on that $1 million offer.
Actually, Dex might take you up on that
Installments,
system. Dex looking to find some new angles to find dates, so he might need that
interesting.
Hubbard system too.
Yeah,
see.
we'll see how that works.
Yeah, that
out.
won't get it. That won't be trouble at all.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one will be
Declan, just
fired
don't
because
let
of
them
that.
see. Yeah, Declan, just don't let them see your golf swing.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Keep
exactly
them far away from that video.
from the golf swing. Yeah.
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 That PGA store is unbelievable, but keep them far, far away.
It's only
from that-
going up.
from that video I saw on Twitter.
Pun intended, Doogie. It's only going up from here. It's only going up from here. I think I'll be all right.
Doogie, real quick, I actually have one more Wolves question before we say goodbye here. So Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press, and I saw some others, but I'm grabbing these quotes from Ant from his Twitter account. So he tweeted last night, "This was one of Anthony Edwards' more dejected post-game media sessions of the year. Asked what the team isn't doing the last couple of games that it had been doing previously, Edwards said, quote, not caring about winning. That's it. That's the biggest thing. Who on this team doesn't care about winning, and how quickly can we boot them from the franchise? That drives me nuts."
And I get it. I still think it goes back to something I've told you guys for months, that this team lacks basketball IQ, lacks mental toughness, that both of those can come with more experience, that they are the youngest team in the league. But yeah, that's troubling, and that goes back for many months where, as brilliant as Anthony Edwards has been in many ways, still has a ways to go on the defensive end, still has a ways to go on shot selection, but he's been excellent. But there's still a part of me, and I know a lot of people in the league share this opinion. In fact, it was others who brought this to me and said, hey, just think about this, that can Anthony Edwards truly hit his ceiling? Can he really maximize his full potential here in this environment? That Minnesota is toxic enough, and I guess this would just be one of many examples that you really truly wonder if Anthony Edwards can really maximize his time here. Now, guys on rookie deals, usually if you're offered the max, I mean, Anthony Edwards at this point looks like he's a max player in a couple of years. You're not going to turn down that money. So Anthony Edwards is going to be here for many years unless there's an unbelievable trade opportunity that is presented to the Wolves front office. So the Wolves have a long time to figure this out. But yeah, like, who knew Cat was so important, right? Like, those two efforts the last couple days, and it's hard to quantify. We're guys thinking about the killing of Dante Wright, everything going on here in town. So I don't want to diminish that possibility. I don't know. I don't know how to quantify that, but those two performances against that Nets roster, then the Bucks were down the Greek Freak. Like, you can't embarrass yourself like that those last two games.
Yeah. All right, Dukes, great stuff. Any other final nuggets before we say goodbye?
Yeah, so the Gophers are in on Theo John. So Theo John, Champlain Park High School, Howard Pulley, good player at Marquette the last 4 years. I think he's got a chance to make some money, at least overseas. He wants to play another year, though. So all these guys and girls, right, if you're a college athlete, last year was a free year, right? So if you want to play a fifth year of college basketball, you can. I talked to Brad Davison yesterday from Maple Grove High School. He's taking the NCAA up on this opportunity. He'll play a fifth year with the Wisconsin Badgers. So Theo John is going to play a fifth year of college basketball, but he's in the portal. He is transferring from Marquette. Marquette has the coaching change. Shaka Smart comes in. So Theo John is now in the transfer portal, a really good player. the Gophers are all over Theo John. So are many schools. But if Theo John chose the Gophers, he would be their starting center. He would play 30 minutes a night. He would be featured prominently.
Love it.
Reckless speculation.
Inside information about your favorite local Minnesota sports teams. That's Darren Doogie Wolfson from 5 Eyewitness News and the Scoop Podcast, Dukes. We'll talk next week.
Absolutely, Phil. One more, by the way. So I just posted a new Scoop podcast late last night. Gable Steveson, Gopher wrestler, was on it. So we talked about his trip down to Tampa, WrestleMania. He wants to pursue a WWE career at some point. He clinched a berth with Team USA in the Summer Olympics, so he'll head to Tokyo in July. But I told him, I go, Gable, like, I look at you and I think you'd be an excellent 3 technique. Like, you would make an excellent defensive tackle.
You're changing lives.
And put it this way, he didn't deny that PJ Fleck has at least made the inquiry. That PJ Fleck thinks, like a lot of us, that Gable could make for an excellent defensive tackle, get him on the football field. So PJ Fleck has at least made the inquiry. So Gable did not deny that when I went down that path with him. So that's among many talking points on Scoop Podcast episode 345. That being said, of all the Gable Steveson possibilities, I don't put football at the top of the list.
Forget about Fleck. How about Zim?
Reckless speculation.
Oh, if we're talking 3 techniques, there's only one guy in town here who does 3 techniques. That's Zim. Like, you go to the best restaurant possible, the 3-tech restaurant. Shit, that's an Egan, man. It's not on the University of Minnesota campus. 3 technique. I've eaten there. Big steaks.
And back in the day, was Eden Prairie with Brock Lesnar, right?
Amen. Amen.
Yep. All right, dudes.
All right,
we'll talk next week, man.
All right. See ya.
That's inside information about your favorite local sports teams. Before we get to talking Twins and before we pick out a couple of our favorite nuggets there, a shout-out to our friends at Federated. That deep dive into the Timberwolves ownership change powered by Federated Insurance. And I know there's business owners that consume our show on a regular basis. I have been one myself and have an idea of what goes into running a business. There's ups, there's downs. You're riding kind of a roller coaster at times, especially the last year and a half. You're taking care of employees. It helps tremendously to have an insurance company that gives you peace of mind as you navigate the challenges of running a business. When you partner with Federated, you get more than just a policy. You benefit from over a century of experience in making businesses as successful as they can be. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Found this article on Vox.com about Marc Lore back in January, leaving Walmart to build a city of the future. His next big entrepreneurial swing, in addition to buying the Timberwolves, will be something far afield from his current expertise, a multi-decade project to build, quote, a city of the future, supported by a reformed version of capitalism. It's a new model for society that we will be testing, he teased. He declined to offer more details, but he said he would be prepared to reveal additional information in the coming months. One more quote. Imagine a city with the vibrancy, diversity, and culture of New York City combined with the efficiency, safety, and innovation of Tokyo and the sustainability, governance, and social services of Sweden, reads the vision statement for the project. This will be our new city. Do you think he's talking about the Timberwolves? Is he talking about D'Angelo Russell being the president?
No. He what he didn't say was that town is going to start off with a new NBA franchise. That's what it is. That's where the Wolves are moving. The city of the future. That's what's going on here. The Wolves are going to be like in Martian suits. They'll come out in Martian suits. We come in peace to beat the crap out of you on the court. Please welcome the Knicks. What the hell's going on here? We're going to beat you up real bad. Yep, city of the future.
This
NBA.
is fascinating. I will definitely be listening later today to that 45-minute podcast with Gary V. But what are your? I mean, that's really the thing that it's probably gotten buried because the Wolves are in the middle of a season and Anthony Edwards and Towns and now everything that's happening in Brooklyn Center and then A-Rod buys the team and like the last thing that we're gonna do a dive on is that Marc Lore guy, the other the actual money guy. Right. But I think he's the one to watch in terms of being hands-on and being the actual vision guy for the structure of the Wolves business. And then A-Rod kind of comes in as the celebrity face and makes it cool, right?
And don't forget too that there have been cases that I've seen where this type of transaction goes down And then so Glenn's told flat out the team is not going to move. We love you. You're going to be involved for 2 years. We're going to come over and eat apple pie every Sunday at your place in Naples. And step one,
come to Mankato.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
beautiful
Oh,
in the
Mankato's
summertime.
go. And do you think A-Rod didn't say it? Oh, Glenn, we will be in Mankato as much as you want. We'll love it. Okay, so step one is look guy in the eye and tell him what he wants to hear to get franchised. That's step one. Step two, where it gets really juicy and dicey at times, is the Marc Lore character will then, as time progresses, push the A-Rod character out because, like, on the surface, the face is, Phil, to your point, A-Rod's buying the A-Rod, right? Yeah. But he's not the guy with the deep pockets. So this is all, I'm just saying, I think that this is going to be, from our standpoint, incredibly interesting to watch play out because what you think on the surface lots of times and the people that you initially talk about aren't the people who end up being in charge of that team, and only time will tell what the play is here. But yes, there is no doubt in my mind that when this is all said and done, Marc Lore is going to have a tremendous role in what happens to this franchise.
Yeah. I've kind of risen above your fear mongering, Zolgad, and you trying to tell us beware the Ides of March.
Yeah.
That this team is moving to Las Vegas. Like, you know what?
I want to see this play out.
If it happens, it happens. But we know for a fact that for this team to do anything meaningful and give us any semblance of joy, Glenn Taylor had to sell it. And for KG to have a chance to come back to the organization. Yes. Glenn Taylor had to sell it.
But I'm with you. I'm just warning people that there is a chance that this is. I've seen this play before. Okay.
Where?
I'm with you. I said this to Dex on a day like a month and a half ago that you weren't on the show. I said flat out, I would rather have him sell. I would rather have this play out exactly as it is, which is there is some trepidation. And there is some possibility that some bad things could take place. I would much prefer this than let's have 5 more years of Glenn and the same floundering, because this is one where it starts at the top. Like there is no, who are you going to blame now? Oh, Gerson's got to go, or Chris Finch, right? Like, no. We have now seen 16 years at least of it's at the top. It's not one. It's not. You can't. If you go and fire the business person for the Wolves, that ain't going to solve anything.
I want for anyone who's sort of wondering, like, why are the Wolves constantly just stumbling all over themselves the last 15 years? Whenever they're not with Flip or Kevin Garnett, it's just mostly a train wreck, right? Go to like Apple or Spotify or whatever your podcast app is and type in Mark Cuban. Go listen to a Mark Cuban interview. He did one with Colin Cowherd recently. He's done them with Bill Simmons. Like, go listen to Mark Cuban for an hour and then go listen to Glenn Taylor on any show locally, like with Doogie, and just listen to the way that shark owners talk, the way that they envision things, the way that they pontificate about the future of the league and business, and then listen to Glenn. And, I feel like I'm just dumping on him at this point, but, it's been a disaster here, and it still is a disaster.
It just needs to change.
They got some hires right, but
it needs to change. It's that simple. And if the team ultimately moves or does not, it's worth the gamble that we're all taking, because you can't continue down this path forever. You just can't.